Woo! I had an opportunity to sit down with Clint Alexander, the guy that I've quoted in both of my books. He's a great man. I'm lucky to call him my friend. He stood by me and helped me through numerous difficult things in my life, and did so from a very early point in our relationship. I barely knew him, and he was helping me through a bad breakup. I owe a lot to this guy. He's really impressive. We see a lot of things the same way, and I've been bugging him to get him to record with me. And he's making a change right now, leaving the school that I coached with him at and heading down to a private school in Virginia, which good for him. It's a great move for him and his family. But man, I'm lucky to have had this opportunity before he leaves to sit down and record with the guy. You'll be impressed. Smart man, wise, excellent when it comes to leadership, able to handle lots of good things. You'll see why it was so easy to work with him as a football coach. Anyway, here's my conversation with Clint Alexander. I hope that in some way this helps you to get your shit together. Have a great week.
It's a way to time to reevaluate.
Yeah, oh, man, for sure. Loss is a great way to fucking figure out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong.
Painful. Woody Hayes said, and nothing cleanses your soul like getting the hell kicked out of you. And when
Yeah.
you do, I mean, and it's public, and it's on film, and you can't hide from it. And you got two ways to go: blame other people or suck it up, get better.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You can definitely go down a path of fucking depression over that shit.
Well,
Pretty fuck up.
and in the world we're living in today, most people want to point the finger.
Yeah.
Point the finger at yourself.
Not my fault.
If I had the power to fix the whole world, it'd be a wonderful world.
Yeah.
I don't, but I can try to fix myself and the people I care about.
Right.
I love that all these young kids want to save the world, but that's a big job. As you get older, you get smart enough. I'll save the piece I can,
Yeah.
and that's important. That's an important piece. And if enough people do that, that's a lot of pieces. As opposed to, if everybody changes, I'll be happy. That's tough.
Yeah, I'm gonna change everything around me because I don't want to look at myself.
Right.
And that's what's I think it's fear behind that most of the time when people don't want to look at themselves. I had this conversation with an older guy that I was working for the other day. I didn't motion at you because you're older. I just we were talking about him
I
earlier. This guy Bruce, and he was saying that very thing, that if you can, doesn't matter how bad you fuck up, if you can look at it and say, "Hey, I fucked up,"
Yeah.
and then fix it, and even if that takes a while, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do as an adult. Be able to
Right.
recognize when you fucked up and adjust for it.
And even sometimes you don't get all the way back, right? You don't get all the way back, but you're going to be a lot better off climbing to the top.
Well, maybe not all the way back in that area,
Yeah.
but maybe you grew somewhere else.
Yeah. And you can grow other places. The old thing, I don't have a problem with it. All the best saddles got wear on it.
That's good shit right there.
That's right.
A lot of asses.
Well, I don't know about the acids, but I certainly know about, ropes on the tree they'll talk about, and, dallying off on the horn and all that. When you see a good old cowboy in saddle, that baby's got a story. It's like scars on your body, right? And they'll point at it and go, "Oh, I roped this bull," or, "Oh, this is when this horse went over on me," or whatever. And they become stories. That saddle becomes like basically your autobiography, right? I still have my saddle. That baby's not going anywhere.
What do you do with it? Where is it?
Oh, it's right in my garage. I'm gonna go right to my next place. I got a little stand for it, and hopefully I get lucky enough down in Virginia, find a place where I can throw it over a horse. But every day I see it, it reminds me of something. I had to be the pickup man in a rodeo at Double J Ranch, and my mom was really worried. And I said, "Mom, don't worry. This is
Pickup
Michigan.
man, you make pulling guys off of
Yeah.
bucking horses.
Get them off the bucking horses." And then problem with the bulls is when you buck out a bull for the first time, they usually don't know how to get out of the arena.
The bull doesn't know.
Nope, doesn't know how to get out, so you're gonna have to go out there and try to rope him. And the best rodeo joke in the world is, "Boy, I bet your horse is proud of you. When you rope a bull and he weighs, 2,700 pounds and
Yeah.
your horse weighs 11,
And you're roped.
you got to get him to chase you out because
Okay.
you're not going to pull him, right?"
Right.
So we, my mom comes up that weekend with my aunt, and they buck out this new bull called Hat Rack. Got a 3.5 foot spread because I told my mom, it's Michigan rodeo. These bulls don't even have horns, nothing to worry about. And they go, "Well, we're gonna have to get our wranglers, Clint Alexander and Dan Hildman, to come on in and get old Hat Rack out of the arena." And I hear my mom stand up and scream, "You said they don't have horns!" And the rodeo announcer's like, "Clint's mom's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen." So I got my rope on old Hat Rack and had to get him chase me in there. And so the catch bend just gets narrow and narrow. It's like, it's pyramid. So you got to get him
Like
in
a
there,
funnel.
cut that rope loose, toss it off because you never tie hard and fast on a bull, and then get out before he keeps you in there. So not a fun job for mom to see, but I love that stuff. I had a bull pick me and my horse up on the fence and just lift us in the air and hold us there. And I was kicking him as hard as I could with my boot to get him off us, and we were like a feather.
Yeah.
But that left a lone mark on my saddle.
Yeah, I bet it did. Yeah, that's cool. There's a story about this dude who ended up dying in Alaska. Anyway, I'm gonna blank on his name, but he had a belt, a leather belt, where he had tooled in all these different experiences from his life, and it wasn't done, right? Because his life wasn't over.
No, that's awesome.
It's a cool idea. I think about the horse stuff, and it's interesting to me, but I've just never been around it. I've always been
Yeah.
doing other things. So you think you'll be able to when you're down there? You'll
Oh, I'd
probably
love to. I've got a former parent that said, "Hey, come on over, ride horses with me." Great guy.
Mhm.
Steve Royce is his name, and he's a pretty interesting character, and kept up with me on Facebook a little bit. So he'd be a fun, a guy like that you go riding with. It's story time anyway.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm hoping I can pull that off. But the other thing, even if I don't, that's such a big part of my life. I met my wife at a ranch. I grew up on a horse farm. That's one of those things like a good hat or good pair of boots.
Right.
Every time my wife likes to purge a house, those things aren't leaving.
Yeah.
There's certain things that
You
can
can
go.
throw away those underwear. You can throw away that T-shirt you don't like, but not,
Yeah.
not my boots, not my
My
hat.
hat's not going anywhere. The boots don't go.
So you're going down to Virginia. You've spent 5 years here in Grand Blanc coaching football, and you'll be coaching football down there again. Uh, Ups, pluses and minuses, man. What are the differences between the two
Well,
situations?
so coming to Grand Blanc, we had looked for some different opportunities down south at some of the private schools, and for whatever reason, couldn't get an interview. Just couldn't. And spent 12 years at a private boarding school.
Mhm.
When I left, we were top 50 in the nation. So I really thought, boy, somebody's going to
Yeah,
win. Just didn't work out. And so it came down to Grand Blanc and Brother Rice, and I ended up choosing Grand Blanc and came in and realized, there's a lot of work to do. And most of it was just infrastructure. And no disrespect to anybody who was in front of me.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, just things I had to recognize. We had to get a better weight room. We had to get a film room that was a little bit more professional, like
Mhm.
a film room that will set the tone. You walk in, it's got to
It's
be
Clint
like an
for inside.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the kids just know the environment says we're serious.
Mhm.
Then we worked on the indoor facility. And meanwhile, the most important part, and this will apply to any business, is putting together the right staff. You got to
Yeah.
find, I want to find dynamic people that the kids will love. And I don't care who they love, but they have to love somebody.
Mhm.
They'll respect me. I'm the head coach. I've always known that. And some love me. But there has to be somebody out there in a hot
That
August
they're looking
day.
forward to seeing every day.
Yeah, they got to love to see him.
And they've got accountability with that guy. They know they want to impress this one
Yeah.
guy.
And personalities are different. You've got race, religion, all these things factor into it. Commonalities. I was a firstborn son. Oh, so was I.
Right,
Or
right.
hey, I'm number 5 in the birth order. So was I.
Mhm.
And they connect because there's got to be that person. And forget football in your life. You
Right.
have to have somebody in your life that wants to make you a better person. I feel like I married that person. She's tough on me, but she makes me a better man. Tells me everything I need to hear, not what I want to hear. But I learned from it. And so coaching here at Grand Blanc, building the staff, and I think by the time we left, we had an unbelievable staff.
Yeah, that's true.
Had 25 great guys, not counting me. They were all kid centered. The first thing I told our new head coach is there's not one person on this coaching roster that you have to worry about. There's no hidden hand grenades. These guys are great guys that are going to take care of the kids. You're never going to worry about them. And from that point on, then the football job, you just get better, right?
Mhm.
Because if you take a guy with great character that really knows what he wants to do and is great with kids, you can teach them football.
That's exactly right. And the philosophy that I learned from you working on that staff was that it's more important for me to teach my coaches, or at least make sure they have exactly what they need to be able to do their jobs real well, because then each of them touches a group of 6 or 12. And if I can get my coaches doing shit right, then that's all. Then that's going to cover all the kids. And in order to do that, I had to give up a little bit of my contact with the kids. I still had my position group, and I made my relationships with them, but there were guys on offense that I barely knew.
Yeah.
But I knew that they had coaches who were doing a very good job with them. And provided that I gave the coaches the tools and helped them have everything they needed, everything was going to go well. And it did. I mean, we functioned like a team, and it was a great environment to work in. I've worked in
Yeah.
a lot of different high schools.
And they loved working with you. And I think anybody in a leadership position, they don't think about it this way, but they need to. If you're in a leadership position, you're an engineer, and you're going to do two
Correct.
things. You're going to engineer success, or you're going to engineer failure.
Yep.
And either way, it's on you. So
Yeah.
if you're not giving the people what they need to be successful, or you're giving them too much and you're overwhelming them, Either way, you're going to build success or failure based on how you help the people you lead. You know, you don't get in a leadership position job to be the leader. You get in a leadership position job because they put you in there because they trust you to make people better.
Yeah, I've always tried to, when I'm in a leadership position, try to make it so that I create a situation where I don't even have to be there. Everybody understands the expectations. They know exactly what they're doing. And even if I'm not there, things are going to go exactly like they would have if I had been.
Yep.
Like that's,
I'll give
again,
you a fun story at Double J Ranch. I had this
here we
great
go.
guy I worked with, Wally Wojak, self-made millionaire. He's passed down now, but he was a Polish immigrant. He was the first guy to be on the first ship that was hit by a kamikaze. He lied about
Oh,
his
shit.
age. He's 16 years old. He said he got blew into Manila Bay.
Wow.
Um, but he was the kind of guy who could take over anything and just make it successful. He bought this brass fitting plant because it looked like gold when they were grinding the brass. So he bought it and turns it into an $8 million success. Well, one day he comes down and I'm walking around as the staff's putting all the horses together. You know, I got my wranglers and they're tacking them out and I'm just pretending. I said, Wally, walk around with me, pretend we're talking about something. And so we're bouncing here and there and everything's happening. They're tacking out about 88 horses, right? And they go, hey, Clint, we're done, ready to go to breakfast. I said, all right. All right, I'll see you guys up there. I'm gonna finish up with Wally. And he goes, man, he goes, it's almost like they don't need you.
Yeah.
And I said, almost.
Yeah, just
I
about.
said, you want to create, you want to make yourself replaced. If you're doing it the right way, it can flow without you. Now, it's always better with you.
Of course.
But if you're a micromanager, they
Right.
all sit and wait till you and Wally are done talking.
That's
Well,
right.
I don't want those people. I want self-starters, change agents, people that want to run. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to ride a donkey, you want to ride secretariat. I want secretariat. I want to slow down
I would
secretariat.
rather pull the reins than crack the whip
Yeah.
on every guy that I'm working
And
with.
I hate to say it, I've met people who love to crack that whip. They love to be that person. They love to be in charge. They love to control people. They love to be mean and good for them. I don't want them.
I got no interest in that shit either.
Yep.
I can,
Life's too short.
yeah, and you find that you can't really build a decent relationship when you don't. I mean, like it's going back to what I was saying earlier, that the biggest thing for me was the friendships here, and the when you don't have a good relationship, like I guess chain of command wise, you never really know if they're really your friends. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if this is a guy who you're always cracking the whip on him, you think maybe he's only hanging around you after work because he thinks he has to. I don't
Mhm.
want that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Like I want to feel like, hey man, no, we're friends here. I have to do these other things, and I'm doing them so you don't have to.
Right.
Like as a head coach, that's what I'm doing, right? Anyway, that's a
Oh yeah, you don't want indentured servants, right? When you think
no.
about like the complexity of football, because you touched on a great point. Like wherever I've been, my best friends are my coaches, right? It's just you spend so much time together, and I think I try to find those kind of people. But when you think about controllables and uncontrollables, what do you really get to control in football? Can't
No,
control the
yeah.
weather, can't control the outcome.
That
I can
thing's
do
got a funny shape. It bounces a lot of different directions. You can't control it.
there's so many things, but the things you can control, do you enjoy doing it every day with the people you're with?
Yep.
That's a controllable. And to me, that builds wins because the kids love it too. When you have fun doing what you're doing, I did two practices
It's
down at
obvious. You can't hide that.
we did two practices down at Blue Ridge with the new staff, and I think we went an hour and 45 minutes. We had a blast. We had a
Good.
blast. They couldn't believe football could be that way. It's always going to be that way. I said it's too hard not to have fun. You're not going to be able to count on people in the community to like you. They'll like you when you win, but God forbid, or you don't start their son or whatever. So
Yep.
those are again uncontrollables. The controllables are you working with a group of people that you truly love to see every day that are going to make a difference in people's lives? And
Hmm.
the other part is win or lose, did you make the young man better or young lady? We had a couple of those too. Did you make them better? Well,
Just make better adults
yeah, better
specifically.
people, better
Yeah.
adults, better player, however you want to slice it. But that lasts so much longer. Than, I mean, like I can think back to how great I felt about that win against Clarkston. We were 36-point underdogs,
Yeah.
right? But I'm a lot more proud of the kids that I know that changed their lives because that's a longer lasting effect than the euphoria of a win. That
Hmm.
lasts till the next game.
Yeah. Yeah. No shit, man. That's and you get them for 4 years maximum.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's less than that, and they're gone for whatever reason. And then you guys just got a new crop, constantly this new crop of kids coming in, but
Yeah.
they're adults for a long time after that. Like the stuff that I always told the kids this, especially before games, like the things that you will do in your life are going to be a memory for way longer than they are a present thing.
Right.
Okay, so you
Right.
might as well make it the best you can make it, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing with these kids. Like you'll remember them as kids, but I'm sure you have too. I've had the luck of being able to be friends with some of my former students. I've got a couple of guys who are in their mid 30s now, who I'll talk to on Facebook or we'll have a beer together or whatever, and they're grown men, and I'm
Yeah.
like, shit, they'll tell me stories about things, and I don't remember it. I'm sure you've had that same thing.
Well, I've been going so long now. I'd be grandpa.
Yeah,
I've
right.
got kids that have kids, right? And kids, I've got kids that have gone into coaching. I've got Greer Martinis down at LSU.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Connor Koch is at MSU or Mississippi. I'm very excited about those guys. And I got guys in small schools all over too. And so that's part of the legacy as
Yeah.
well, as you want to know you're giving them something, right?
Mhm.
And the one thing, and I've tried to do this as a teacher, I've always tried to do this as a coach as well, is I can't control your whole day, but your hour or your 2 hours with me in practice, we're
They're
gonna
gonna
make
be
that the
good.
best part of your day.
Yeah.
Make that the best part of your day. Now, is that transferable? Yeah. Hey, you're the shift supervisor, third shift, everybody's tired, and you come in rocking it,
Hmm.
they're gonna have a great
Picks
shift.
everybody up.
You
Yeah.
come in tired, nope.
Had that conversation with a good buddy of mine, runs a marketing firm. We just had coffee the other day, and he was talking about he's got a person he's delegated to basically run his company. And he said that she sometimes, kind of folds under pressure. I'm like, well, define it. He says, well, you know, she'll, uh, she'll kind of buckle, and then she'll sleep on it. And she'll get back the next day, and she'll be great. I'm like, well, what else can you ask for? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
his angle to her is always what you just said. Hey, they're all looking at you.
Right.
Like it or not, you got to fake it when it isn't there. That's part of leadership.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They've got to believe that they're following something. They have to.
Right.
That's another reason why I joined the staff with you. I don't want to be a head varsity coach again. I want somebody who's going to make those decisions, and I can just follow your lead, and you can just tell me what to think and how to feel, basically, and I will run this system the best I can. It's one less stress, one less worry. I don't have to. Heavy is the head, right? Heavy is
Right.
the head that wears the crown.
No,
And I
that's
don't have
heavy.
to do that shit. When I
Right.
was working with
Right.
you, I can just fucking go run my team, and it goes pretty well. So what are the things that you're up against in Blue Ridge? What are the challenges that you
Just, brand new, right? And getting in there late. I wasn't there I've been working hard with the new recruiting class, and we've picked up some great kids, but you got to build a staff, and that's hard to do
Yeah,
long
how are you doing with
distance.
that, especially being so
Great.
far away?
We got 10 great guys. We got a person for every position.
Good.
I've got a special teams coach as well, and again, high energy people that are going to make a difference with kids. So that was obvious our first day together. I got Colonel Craig Blanford coming back. He worked with us here at
Dude.
Grand Blanc, and he lives in Virginia, and he just brought a ton of energy. And he called me when I was driving home. I had to drive straight back to Michigan from Virginia at like 7 o'clock at night, and he said, "Man, that was so much fun." He goes, "They're so bought in. They're so excited to be a part of this." I said, "Yeah, it was. It was obvious day one." So those will be positives. We went 6-3 last year. They lost 3 games to 3 really good teams, but they weren't very close. So even though we won 6, the gap between the 3 that beat us is pretty wide.
Okay.
And so just start chipping away at it. It's fundamentals, it's techniques, it's probably more importantly, team and community. Playing hard for the people you care about. That's why I love military history so much. When you read about these heroic last stands or guys that sacrifice themselves for other people, that's special. Well, great teams do that too. All the great teams truly care. They won't flinch at saying "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
Selfish teams, you won't hear a lot of love. Hear a lot.
No, you see a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, and I'm open.
Yeah,
You hear I'm open a lot more than you hear I love you.
we have a rival here in Grand Blanc that, as you know, they're a finger pointing culture. It's amazing. Last year when I was scouting, watching these guys, I'd go watch them, and you could just see them on the sideline. They just when something negative happens, they go after each other, and that's a recipe for failure.
Well, and it can be sports, it can be classroom, it can be business. When you lead through fear,
Mm-hmm.
okay? When you lead through fear, and you can look at, I'll just use military history. You look at armies historically that were led by the lash, right? You do it because you're afraid of what happens if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to young Napoleon taking over the army of Italy and says, everything you need is in the valley before you. And they go end the war in 6 months. And most of them didn't have shoes, half of them didn't have
Right.
muskets, but he brought hope. And to me, hope and love, 2 most powerful things I try to get into our program. Any staff I've ever run, be it football or business, everybody should show up with hope in their heart. Today's my day. Today's my week. Hey, I'm trying to get that promotion.
I'm better
This
today
would be
than I
it.
was yesterday at the
Yeah.
very least, right? I know I'm improving every day.
Well, and that you have hope that you can do it. If you make it clear, hey, you'll only be this level of manager for me forever. Well, okay, but there's no hope there. And the analogy I use when I talk at clinics is I say to the big audience, okay, imagine if this building fell down around us and it is pitch black. We could dig for a week. in the wrong direction.
Mhm.
But if there's a tiny crack of light
You're
up in
going
that
after it.
corner,
Yeah.
that's a game changer. It changes everything. We know where to go.
Yep.
We know how to get out. That's hope. The other one I would use when I talk about love is I'd have this slide of a burning house at night. I'd always grab a coach and go, hey, man, um, I need a volunteer. All right, so get this guy. And then they show the slide, and this house is on fire, and it looks bad. I said, what's the fire department tell you? Well, you can't go in. I said, all right.
Fully involved.
Yep, can't go in. Can't do it. But you just heard daddy. I said, you going in,
Yeah.
coach?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm going in. I said, why? Because your coach grabbed you by the face mask, cut you out, called you pussy. I said, why are you going in there? He goes, because I love my family. I said, the most
That's right.
powerful thing in the world. So when you can get your business
It's
group
good, man.
or
Hopefully it is.
your teams, that all word's positive, and it's lifelong. Because if you've got the courage to tell somebody you love them, you'll be there when things go wrong. When you don't, they're an acquaintance.
Yep.
And I think our world makes a mistake right now. We're so worried about clicks and likes and things like that. Those they will never be there when you have to move,
That's exactly right.
right? You want to find out who your friends
Yeah.
are, move your house.
Yeah. Find it out pretty
Yeah.
quickly. So how do you stay calm in the face of those terrible things sometimes? And I'm pulling this up because I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I got you in my new book.
Okay, here we go. We got to keep it going. There are playoffs coming
So
up.
I was talking to you after a big win that a team we hadn't beat, right?
Yeah.
And then we finally beat them and beat them by a lot. And I'm like, why aren't you more excited? And you said, we got to keep it going. There are playoffs coming up. And what you were alluding to, I don't want to put words in your mouth, was that, hey, man, if I celebrate right now, everybody's going to think the job's done.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't. And was I happy? Absolutely. They done about everything they could do to disrespect me,
Yeah.
my family, our program for 5.5 years. Yeah. But again, um, to me, the role of a coach is a teacher too, right? So how I
It's the same
act,
thing.
how I react, how I handle a win like that. We didn't go on social media and talk a bunch of trash. We didn't embarrass anybody. Matter of fact, we subbed out with 6 minutes ago in the third quarter,
Yeah.
43-7. And I don't know that I've ever seen that team do that, right? But part of it is how you handle success is usually a lot more revealing than defeat,
Oh,
right?
yeah, no doubt about that.
Because it's easy to run around and go crazy. I mean, and I've loved in my 29 years of coaching watching these guys that are such great winners, and then they lose one game and they're wholly different.
Yeah, I've seen basketball coaches like that just
Yeah,
lose their minds when they lose.
and they forget the same bench behind you.
Yep.
And you're
Same
talking,
fans.
and I know all those coaches will say all the right things. It's one thing coaches, we know what to say, right? Build better men, great husbands and great wives, and change lives and show up in church. And then
Yep.
adversity strikes and they don't live up to any of those things. That's what's hard. So that, I mean, as big as that one, that was a huge win, right? We could have lost the next week just because we're still living that one. And it's the same mistake. So I'll flip it around the other way. We lose a heartbreaker down in Virginia, Woodbury Forest, to really good. It was called Lynchburg Christian Academy, LCA. Great team. We lose 11-10 late. Kids are devastated. It's number one versus number two. And big showdown at our place. And we go out to practice Monday, and the kids are all just staring at me. And I'm kind of looking like, at first I thought something's wrong.
Yeah.
What's on my face? Or, yeah, did not wipe off the mustard at lunch. And then I realized they were afraid. And I said, what are you guys so worked up about? I said, look, we don't lose because we lose. I said, I'm not going to punish you till Wednesday because we lost Saturday. You lost by 1 point on the last play of the game. How am I upset with that? I said, let's go win the next one. And so we didn't lose another game, number one state. Now, I've watched a lot of teams lose a heartbreaker and lose the next two because they lost a heartbreaker 3 weeks ago. Well,
Yeah.
that's shame on the coaches.
Yeah, we had that much smaller example, but a couple of years ago at Dow, this group that just graduated for us here at Grand Blanc, we lost our opener. It's like ass in the end, man, it was the best thing in the world for those kids.
Best thing.
I mean, and I got to give Coach Mario credit for this. I mean, we were walking, the game had just ended, and kids are in the end zone, and we're at meeting as coaches, and we're walking over to address these kids, and I was in the right frame of mind, and he put his arm around me and said, it's the best thing that's ever going to happen to these kids. They never lost. They needed to lose. This is good shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thanks, coach. Thanks for getting me out of this one. And it was, man. We talked about that, and it was like they just shook it off. And they're like, and then they spent the rest of their careers just absolutely fisting teams, like just crushing. Like, oh, we're mortal. let's make sure nobody else knows.
Right? You know, they did. And I was on the sidelines watching that game and secretly hoping you'd lose because we showed up way too confident, jumped them early, and then
did.
this team comes back like they're playing the Rocky soundtrack.
Hmm.
And I'm standing with the AD offensive coordinator. He's like, man, we won't play this good the rest of the year. He goes, all summer long, we told these guys, hey, they're undefeated. They're going to kill you. And every time we said it, two more kids showed up to the weight room. And so you almost stole that thing back. I think he scored 21 points in like 2 minutes and almost got the last onside. And I was the guy going, thank God we didn't get it. Because they need to grow from that. Because you didn't have another close game the rest of the season.
No, we beat teams by 40.
When I talked to him in the circle, I said, you forgot you're the buck with the big antlers and everybody wants a piece of you.
That's right.
And you've got to understand
King of the mountain.
when you're doing well, people play you different.
They're coming after you.
We would watch film at Woodbury and we'd watch a team that they were okay, but they were in our league and they were a rival. And I'd say, you won't play that team. You just saw 3 fumbles and 10 penalties. I said, they won't turn it over once against you guys. And I doubt they'll get a penalty. And then the game would have me go, Coach, how'd you know that? I said, because it's you. It means more. They're totally focused. And so you use the analogy. If you got to go fight Glass Joe or Mike Tyson, who are you more worried about?
Yeah.
And who you can bring your A game to? Right?
Yeah, you know, I do construction, and we always say that the most dangerous ladder on the whole site isn't the 40-foot ladder or the 28-foot ladder. It's the 6-foot step, because you just throw it up and climb up on that sucker. You don't even think about it. You just whatever, because you're not worried.
Right.
But that big ladder, boy, you take your time. That sucker's perfectly balanced, and it's right.
Check the ground.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I mean, it is perfect. You got a spotter like.
Wind.
Oh yeah, no kidding me. You're checking the weather report,
But you're right.
check pressure. Yeah, most dangerous ladder is the smallest one.
Well, and you just think about cars. Where are all the wrecks? There's stoplights, right?
That's true.
When you're not going that fast, it's not the highway, although bad wrecks happen on the highway, but most of your wrecks happen where you should be paying attention and you're going slow.
It's decision making,
Right.
human error.
Going to grab my phone, going to talk to somebody, whatever. But it's where you relax.
Yep, it is because you have
So back to that quote.
Yeah.
Can't relax.
No, you can't ever. I mean,
No.
it doesn't matter what you want to do. And I think you got to have some balance. I'm a big fan of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits Highly Effective
Yeah.
People, and habit 7 is sharpen the saw, which basically is you work your ass off on everything, but don't forget you've got to recharge.
Right.
The idea being, hey, you can keep killing it with a dull saw, or you can take a break and sharpen the damn saw.
Right.
And then you're going to be a lot better off. So take a break, right?
Yeah.
So there's got to be some of that, but as long as you're still grinding, always grinding, you got a routine, bang, 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 bang.
And that's where, again, having the right people around you, they'll recognize that.
Yeah, you'll know when the kids need to take a break.
The kids and the staff.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes it's, hey, man, go take your wife out to dinner.
Yeah, right?
Right. Or one of your many friends. But
Right.
it was right there. It's low hanging fruit. I had to take it.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things that, when you got people around you that care about you, and think about wherever you've worked. There's a lot of people that want to see you successful. There's a lot of people who want to see you fall.
Most want to see you fall,
Yeah.
especially the further ahead you go.
Yeah.
The better you get at anything, I think the more haters you have.
Sometimes people that hire you, right? Then you get in there and you do really well, and
And like, this guy's going to get better than I am.
right,
Okay.
God forbid, or they like him too much, or whatever, or her. I always tell the kids when we're talking about leadership, I said there's tons of ways to get to the top, but the 2 most obvious: you stomp people to get to the top, and you end up on top, and they can't wait for you to fall. And they're hoping you fail because you've hurt people, undermined people, backstabbed people, all these horrible things that people like to do to be the leader, right? I said the best way is help so many people they throw you up there. They push you to the top because if you fall, they'll catch you and they'll put you back up there.
Yeah.
The other person, they can't wait to watch them not only fall, hit the ground, bounce 3 times because
Yeah.
like, yeah, you got what you
Doesn't
deserve.
laugh at you.
Yeah, because they don't really want you to be successful because you did nothing to get there.
Well, shit, people around you are going to help you get there anyway. You said push them up, but I mean, I think the practical application of that is the better you make them, the better they make you, especially if they're people that are kind of in your team or whatever, right? You got to make them as great as you can. I think about the young guys we've hired over the years who, like you said, maybe don't know that much about football, but they're super fired up. They've got a lot of energy. They want to help kids. Well, shit, we can use a guy like that. We can
teach
push,
that.
make them great, make them great.
You can teach that person anything.
Yeah, make them
What you can't teach, it's like pushing a rope. You can't teach a person that knows everything.
It's true.
And I don't hire those people. I mean, I used to. And then as I got older, especially when we really started to roll at Woodbury, I had every young dude in 3-county area, man, I really want to come coach with you guys. And I realized they're going to crush kids for 10 years before they figure it out. I'm like, nope, I'm full. Then I find Colonel Blanford, great story. So Colonel Craig Blanford reaches out to me, works at Quantico. I mean, he is a real deal Marine now. And he goes, hey, come to watch practice. I said, Well, secretly I'm thinking, man, I want to get this guy to work with my kids because, I know he knows leadership, right?
Yeah.
So I said, no free rides, Marine. I said, come dressed to work. because I wanted him on the field around the kids, hoping he'd get hooked, right? And he loved it, had a great time, and he dove in and helped. And I say, man, what do you think about coaching with us? He goes, I haven't played football in 25 years. I can't coach football. I said, all right, I don't care. I said, I'll make you the running backs coach. I'll teach you how to be the running backs coach. I said, you make me a better leader because I know you know how to do that. Well, he hits the ground running the next day.
Because you
He's a
know that
coach.
in his mind, everything you do, he's going, like he knows if you're doing it right or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that keeps your game up.
Yeah, and he like goes back to that point, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yep.
So you want to hire people that challenge you, that make you better, that will, if you got a bunch of yes people, yes
Yeah,
man,
that
yes
help, yeah.
girl, yes whatever,
Sycophants.
yeah, they won't make you better and you're going to fail because you won't see the fatal flaw. When I'm breaking down film to try to play someone, I'm looking for where they don't dot the I or cross the T.
Mm-hmm.
And that might take you 5 hours. It might take you the third time you watch it and suddenly you go, wow.
Yep.
But if you don't have people pushing you to look for those things and then seeing it in you,
Yeah.
and again, that's where we'll win a big game. And I'll come home and my wife will be ready to let me know all the things we're doing wrong on the sidelines
Yeah.
because I'm watching the field.
Yeah.
But she's watching my staff and the kids and like, hey, they're doing this, they're not treating each other well. This guy gets way too mad, blah, blah, blah. And I haven't seen any of that because she's quality control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking at the product on the field, which I'm thinking is a
Well, your
product.
back's to the bench.
Right.
Literally and
And
figuratively.
hers never is.
Yeah.
And that's really helped us.
Yeah.
And so here's one of these things. We're talking about coaching. So we played the school that was pretty weak, and we subbed. We worked so hard to get everybody in, and I think it was 2, 3 years ago. I think we had 73 kids on the varsity. I got 70 in the game, and we tried to get everybody in. And this one young man, I called his name out multiple times, and every time I did, he'd stand behind somebody else because he just wanted to be on the team. He didn't care if he played.
Well, that's not terrible either. He's
No, it
got
wasn't.
things.
No, it
He's
wasn't.
gonna get better at life.
So we get home. I haven't been home 5 minutes, and that kid's dad calls, and he's cussing me up one side, down the other. How could you play everybody? You didn't play my son. I go, hey, I'm so sorry. I must have missed him. I won't let that happen
Yeah,
again.
you can't out the kid to the dad.
And my wife goes, why'd you lie to him? She goes, I watched you call his name 4 times. I said, if he'll call me and cuss me out like that, what's he going to do to his boy?
Exactly
I said,
right.
I'll take the hit.
Yep.
Right. And that's one of the things you do as a coach sometimes. You don't get to control the family table, but you got to know what it is.
It's the most important table there is, especially
Yeah.
for the kid, hey?
Yeah. And so, when dad's hammering him at home, why don't you play more? It's tough for a kid to go, hey, dad, he's just better than me. And
Yeah.
they just
Most
won't
kids aren't
say
gonna
anything.
that. Well, they know it's not going to land well with dad anyway.
No, because yes, you are. But even that, or, should have married a better athlete, dad.
It's right there.
That's probably what I'd have said. But
Yeah, that's
anyway,
cold.
well, I was a jerk early on. But anyway, so it's just one of those things. You don't, I always talk about you never punish the boy for the sins of the father.
Yeah, and we see that a lot, hey?
Yeah.
The kids who, want to transfer, or they get all whiny, or they become like a squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
That's not really them. I mean, that's stuff they're not old enough to be themselves yet. They're not
Right.
really a unique individual. Now, I'm going to treat them that way. I'm not a call the parents guy. I really
No.
never wanted to do that because I feel like I'm breaking the trust of the kid at that point. I want a relationship with that young man.
Right.
But I also realize that there's a lot of things he can't control, things he can't do, decisions he can't
Well,
make.
and once you play that card, and I'll do it 2 ways, coach and teacher. So from a teacher's perspective, when you send, like I don't send people to the office. When you send
Yeah,
somebody to the
never
office, you
did.
just told the class, I'm
I
not
can't
going to
handle it.
charge, right?
Yep.
So once you open that Pandora's box, it's never going to close. Well, the same thing, when you start calling kids, families, to talk about the kid and things they're not doing well, and that doesn't mean you don't have a conversation if you're worried about something, but what I'm saying is like, it almost feels like you're tattling, right?
It's exactly
Well,
what
trust
it
me,
is.
that kid's going to tell
You're a
everybody
rat.
else.
You're
Yeah.
a rat at that point.
And he'll tell everybody else in that team, and you're going to lose a lot of kids because you broke the sacred trust. Now, I expect that from the kids as well. Please come to me if you have an issue. I don't want to hear it from your parents first.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
You
from
see
the
me
coaches
every
too.
day. You're going to see me 14 hours this week between film, lift, and practice. And if you couldn't find a second to tell me,
Right.
but you're telling your parents, then obviously I've failed our communication
Yeah,
connection.
I haven't made it clear that I haven't made you feel welcome to be able to come talk to me.
Or like you said, maybe they don't feel that way. Maybe it's coming from someplace else.
That's exactly right.
So, we've always set a goal with big teams to play 50 kids by halftime, which is great. But like this year, we had 81. So we still left 41 haven't been in yet. And we found a way. I mean, most games, we almost got everybody on the field. And I'm a big believer in meaningful minutes and giving kids a chance because even when they fail, now you got it on film and you can show them,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah, and there's nothing more valuable than that. I mean, that camera doesn't lie.
oh,
You get somebody in the film room, and it's hard for them to deny it, right?
and when
So
you're
you can't help but learn. Is my point.
yeah, you're right. Well, and the other thing is, so I just spoke about this when I spoke at Michigan this year at the Michigan High School Coaches Convention. I said, be careful what you celebrate on film because that's who your team's going to become.
It's
So if
true.
you celebrate the kid showing off dancing, or you celebrate the quasi late hit, or you celebrate the disrespectful whatever, you're going to see more of that. But if you celebrate the kid racing across the field to go hug the guy that gave up a touchdown, you'll see more of that. If you celebrate the guy that stays home and does his job and turns it back into a teammate so they can make the play, you celebrate the guy that didn't make the play by making the play.
Celebrate blocking,
Right?
like the,
Little
the
thing.
the no fun stuff, but
Yeah.
it makes
Or
plays.
or the extra block. We had a
Right.
kid, Northville, his name was Mike Jameson. And this is a true story. We're playing at Franklin. I had this Max Stelek who was outstanding tailback. And he rounds corner on the right side, and Jameson's playing our left wide out. So he's pretty far away from this thing. And the kid pops free, and he's going for about 79. Going to be a touchdown. But there's one guy to beat. And the receiver on the backside makes the block at the 3-yard line. He cuts off the block and scores.
Okay.
So we created the mantra wide receivers blocking downfield, create big plays. But I showed the kids, I said, look at the hustle this took
To get to that.
to make that play.
Yeah.
And he's not going to score.
Yeah.
The other guy is, right?
Yeah.
But you create that culture. Now, if we don't go crazy about that, we'll never see it again.
That's
Oh,
right.
good job, Mike.
You better at least bring it up in film. Be like,
Yeah.
you guys, take a look at this.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's great stuff. You know, it's those things that nobody sees during the game. I don't see it in the game.
No, it'd be
You know what I mean? But you see it on film.
impossible. Yeah, when 2 times this year, or 2 times in our last game of the year, when we take that lead against Adams, I think JJ and Tay and came from the backside to make the last 2 blocks for Elijah to go almost 80 yards on 2 different plays. But it was backside receivers getting
Yep.
way downfield, and then that's the commitment to the group. That's group over self.
Yeah, and I think that's the dynamic that if you want to have any team succeed, football, I like football because everything we teach there is
Transfers.
applicable to life. Everything. And that's unique to any sport. That's the only one that does it. But I like it for that reason, and I forgot the point I was going to make. But yes, that's why, because everything transfers, and that stuff.
Oh,
Like,
and we're flirting with a society where we got too many people want stuff for free.
yeah, and it's all
Right.
about me.
Now it's, pay my college off or pay this or pay that or whatever. And I know people need stuff. I've helped people my whole life, but I think, I'll just use another football example. So we've created the transfer portal for college players
I
now,
think
right?
it
They
was
can
a
go
terrible
wherever.
thing. It's a
Well,
terrible thing.
and I heard Nick Saban say this. He said, all we're teaching people to do is run away from
Any problems.
competition and adversity and
And
break
commitment.
right, and break commitments.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want a young man, my daughter just got married, Shelby, to a great young man, Jimmy. I don't want him leaving at the first sign of adversity. And trust me, it's coming.
Yep.
I've been married. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
You want people to fight through that stuff, hopefully together, right? But you also, I don't like this concept of we're creating a generation where they just expect success.
I think we're several generations into that at this point.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you battle that. I think the way that you battle it, the only way you can battle it, is to create a culture where people wouldn't even consider leaving.
Right.
You know what I mean? To create a situation where there is that love and there is that connection and there is that I will block for you way downfield. And again, not just football, but in life,
Yeah.
we're a team and whatever it takes, right? Like military stuff is the same thing. And for men especially, that's incredibly important to have that camaraderie and have that commitment. And we did that, I think, as a staff here too. But if you have that culture, I think that people will stay if they're the right kind of person, I suppose. I'm just trying to think of the exceptions.
Oh, and
People
in our
who
staff,
want to leave it.
we attracted those guys.
Yeah, they
those
came
were the
to us
kind of
that way.
guys that wanted to coach with us, right?
Mhm.
They wanted to be a part of that. They wanted to be part of something that wasn't just football and being tough and smacking people. And I like that too. I'm super competitive, right? I love military history. I love strategy. I love tactics. I love all those things. But I really love building a culture that lasts. And you can't build that on just winning. And that's where you'll see, and this, everybody's seen these teams. They have a great season,
But
right?
that's
They,
it.
they win a championship.
Yeah.
Then suddenly 2 years later, they're no reflection of that team, right? But the dynasties, the Patriots and the Yankees, you name it, they built something that just lasts.
Yeah, it's an
And
idea.
it's not just about winning.
Yeah.
It's about us and doing our thing. And Bill's great, do your job.
Mhm.
And people misuse that all the time or interpret it however they want. But to me, that's his way of saying in this culture, we're going to put our job to the team
Well, it's
first,
trust. It's
right?
trust.
Yeah.
I can just do my job. I don't have to worry about your job because I trust that you're going to
Yeah.
do it.
You're going to do it.
Yeah.
If I do this, I know you'll be there.
Yep.
And if you do that, you know I'll be there. As
Yeah.
opposed to, hey, did they show up to work today?
I think we did. Those guys did come our way. We also, you and I consciously built that environment here.
Yeah.
Like we did things to make it so
And we
that
sought
was
people like
obvious.
that out. We would turn down. We had a lot of guys with a lot of football experience come in and want to work with
Yeah.
us.
Just they weren't going to fit.
Right, right. But they were going to be hard on kids,
Hmm.
and winning was everything.
Yep. And easy on themselves.
Probably the best thing that happened to our team this year was 3 times in the handshake line. The teams are going win the state championship. Man, good luck. That
Okay.
doesn't happen.
Yeah. Teams don't do that.
No, not after you just beat them in football. But we beat them the right way.
Hmm.
Our uh, our game against Saginaw United this year, and they had been struggling, and people had been running the score up on them all year. And we subbed out in the first quarter and got everybody in, created 3 different defenses, so it worked for the kids we subbed in. And I don't know, I can't remember the score exactly. It might be 53 or 56 to 28. That's the most points they scored all year.
Yeah. There you go.
But at halftime, I think it was their homecoming. Last game of the year was their homecoming, and they just had low turnout. So we stopped our halftime adjustments and walked the kids to the sidelines to be part of the crowd and cheer for them. And their AD was so thankful,
That's
principal was
great
so
shit,
thankful.
dude.
But our kids had fun.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, he's going to Central,"
Yeah.
and it was a great time. And so even though we won and they lost, they felt like they won,
Mhm.
and they got treated with some respect. And you can do that in sports and still win. You don't have to. And I know there's a mindset, put your foot on the throat, choke them out, and all that stuff. But I don't know if I want that dad. I certainly don't want him or that coach
Yeah.
for my kid in youth sports.
Yeah, and I probably don't. The kid's probably going to be problems too. And no offense to the kid, but he's going to be getting mixed messages. He's going to be learning one thing from us and something different at
Yeah.
home, and that's just going to make the kid conflicted. It's going to make him uncomfortable.
The difference is mom and dad aren't not going to start him if he's a good boy.
That's true.
But that
That's true.
coach
Not
might
going to
not
not feed
start
him
him.
dinner.
Yeah, if he doesn't try to bean the batter or what. I mean, that's where it's dangerous sometimes. I mean, I'm a coach and my industry scares me all the time. I meet people all the time that just embarrass me.
And I think most coaches, I hate saying this out loud, but it's true, especially in football, are in it for a little bit of the wrong reasons. It's something selfish. It's something that they're a hole they're trying to fill. It doesn't mean they're bad coaches, but I think their reasons aren't that great. And I
And
don't mean to sound high and mighty, but
Oh,
I've been on a lot of high school staffs and I see that more than I don't.
yeah. And well, and sometimes they just don't know it because that's the model they had,
That's
right?
what they grew up with.
My default is I go back to my mom. She's the best coach I ever had. And she was always about character. It was always about character.
You can't lose when you're focusing on that
Yeah.
thing.
And she said over and over and over, moms don't remember scores, moms remember class. And that stuck in. And again,
Yeah.
so when they're thanking you at the end of a game and wishing you to win the state championship, you did something right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we scored enough points, but what we didn't do, like we talk about constantly, loving each other up, celebrating together.
Mhm.
Don't point your fingers at the other guys and celebrate over them and be that guy. Just love your teammates. You can't get in trouble. There's no penalty for hugging your teammate.
That's
It's
right.
never happened.
Celebrate together.
Never seen
Can't
that
be done.
flag. Even over celebration together isn't a penalty, but
Yeah.
it's when you want to make somebody else look bad. And so to me, and just pretend I'm the college guy recruiting you, what are you telling me about your personality when you're up in people's face, talking trash, wagging your finger in front of the face, telling everybody how great you are?
Well, that tells me it's insecurity.
Yeah.
And that's not a kid I want on my team
Yeah.
because that kid can't handle any kind. If he's gonna do that when he wins, back to what we were talking about. Imagine what he's gonna be like when it's him on the other end of it.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the biggest palms up,
Yep.
blaming everybody else.
Yeah, and I know we're picking on receivers, but it's usually those guys. But
But
again, yeah, but you don't see O linemen go palms up.
That's true.
O linemen become O linemen, one, because they're probably a little bit less athletic early on, or two, they care about people. That's why I love the O line. They're the
Yeah.
only unit in football that says, I will put my body in front of you to keep you healthy, other than
Mhm.
a fullback who really wants to run people over anyway.
Right.
So really, it's an O lineman, right? So those guys get the blunt of everything. Oh, the quarterback sack. O line sucks. Oh, can't run the ball. The O line sucks. So, whatever, right? But
Sure.
yeah, nobody wants to be an O lineman.
Yeah. No,
Right.
but they have that bond. I mean, that's one of the many
Right.
things that make them a great group together. And I think we've had a couple of good groups come through Grand Blanc while we've been.
Well, and that's why in my career, I've always tried to find the right guy with the O line. They've
Yeah,
got
that's
to
huge.
love that guy because they've got the hardest job. They got the most pressure. They got all eyes on them when things go wrong. They'll be the first ones to get blamed. I mean, you watch any football game and then you
Mhm.
hear what they talk about after. It's usually going to be,
Well,
the
he
O
missed
line
his
sucked.
block. This guy
Yeah,
missed.
couldn't block anybody, couldn't run the ball, couldn't keep the quarterback safe. So they better have somebody takes care of them.
Well, sometimes you can't run the ball because they got you're facing all the defense. You got some middle
Yeah.
linebackers that are like,
Yeah. And they're just better.
yeah,
But no one will say that.
it's true.
They won't be, that defense is great.
Yeah,
And they got like 9 college guys on that defense. You
yeah.
won't hear that.
No,
Coaches suck.
offense.
O-line sucks.
Yeah,
Quarterback sucks, right? And anyway, and that's not Grand Blanc or Virginia. It's the
that's
whole
what,
world.
yeah.
And fans like to do that.
Yeah, I think that as much as we complain about kind of the way that society is going, and we could go on and on about that, we're kind of like the last bastion of hope there, right?
Yeah.
We're the last vestige of, hey, there's another way to do it, and this is what it's supposed to be like.
Oh, I think high
Supposed to run
school
your life.
athletics is the best thing kids can do, or the band, or something. It can be drama, whatever. Being connected with something other than going home and getting on social
Being
media
on your
or
phone.
playing your video games. Invest in other people and sacrifice some of your time. And eventually you're going to have to do a job interview, or you're going to have to work with some people, right? And they're all not perfect.
Mhm.
So doing those kinds of things and doing it through sports where it's okay to lose and we still love you, hopefully, um, is a great place to learn that, because in the working world it's harder.
Yeah, and it's a responsibility, man. I mean, no, there's nothing saying you got to join a team or be on the band. Like you are choosing to do that. You are accepting responsibility in your life. It's a big thing Jordan Peterson talks about.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, stop crying about your rights and start taking on responsibility.
Do it.
Because your rights don't get you up in the morning.
No.
But your responsibilities will.
Right. And if you and I've always said this about people when they're trying to work out. Everybody wants to get in shape and work out.
Mhm.
I said, get a partner, because I've let myself down every day. I won't let a partner down.
That's true.
If I know somebody's waiting for me, I'm
That's
going to
true.
be there. And so suddenly, hey, I had a great friend, Greg Jacobs. We had run almost every lunch when I was at Woodbury, and he's a savant. He was my Ernie Adams. And we would spend 5 miles talking about the game plan because he did our broadcast. And he just throw questions because he's an unbelievable science teacher. He wrote the book, How to Get a 5 on the AP Physics exam. And he had great questions. And he said, look, if you can't answer this question, then you're not prepared. Because he'd give me something, make me think that. I'm like, man, I don't know. You're right. If they do that, I don't think I have an answer yet, right? I love those runs. We'd go through 5 miles and go, we're back, because we talked the whole time and it was fun and he made me better. And I challenge him, or some days, in the off season, we talk about his classes and what's going on and student dynamics. And I try to help him a little bit, right? But I look forward to that.
Well, it's a great lesson, man. It's the same thing for the kids. If they're there with their brothers every day at practice, then they're not worried about how bad it hurts because of me.
And then make practice fun. Whoever said practice has to be drudgery?
We
And
try to
there are
make
some
fun every
things
day.
you have to do. There are fundamentals and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing with work. When I had to teach during the, COVID year, right? And I'm Zooming, which I'd never done. How do you make that fun to freshmen that thought they were
Yeah.
going to high school? They were just crushed. So I was Operation Random Chaos. They never knew it was coming. I'm playing walk-up music. We're doing Fun Hat Fridays and Motivational Mom Mondays and
Mhm.
Pet Tuesday and Sibling Wednesday or whatever. But they all showed up
Yep.
because they weren't quite sure what they'd see. So as a boss, or just in your workplace, bring the donuts,
Yep.
or bring a smoothie, or hey, whatever. Yeah, tonight I got us tickets to this, right? Or
Yeah.
we used to do movie nights when I worked at the ranch, and so one of the fun things we did, The Cowboy Way was coming out.
That's a
Classic
good one.
movie if you haven't seen it.
Woody Harrelson and Keith Sutherland.
Great movie.
Yeah.
And so I called ahead and said, look, I got a bunch of real cowboys coming from this ranch, but we're going to be busting to make it.
Mhm.
And we don't make a ton of money. But if we come in gear, chaps, spurs, the whole deal,
Yeah.
can you let us in for free? So they set up this red carpet entry and people were there taking pictures of us. And we got to watch the movie for free. But those were little things I would do as the manager of that group, called the head wrangler, just to make it special. They just never knew. Every day, our Wednesday, which you got a great staff, on your one day off a week, you do it together.
Hmm.
We might have one or two people missing, but for the most part, I had to set up something on our day off because we wanted to be together.
Everybody still wanted to be together
Yeah.
when you weren't working.
Yeah. So you can do that with any facet of your life, church, friend group, book club, whatever.
Yeah, and
Make it special.
I say it all the time that as a man, a big part of your life, you are a leader every day. That's part of your life.
Yep.
In your whole kingdom, your neighborhood, your family, of course, the people you work with, your neighbors. I mean, it's not a very big circle, but that's your circle. That's your kingdom. You're a leader there, and it's your job to bring everybody up and help them get better at whatever they're doing.
Well, and I worry for kids today because they just don't have as many examples. It
Very
used
true.
to be in TV. I'm old enough to remember Andy Griffith, and I was young for that. But when he would talk to Opie and tell him what he did wrong and how he did it,
It
it was
was like
just,
hearing from the Lord
yeah.
himself.
And it was all full of love. It
Hmm.
might have been scripted, who knows? But they got to see that. There was
Hmm.
strong male characters in their lives, and you watch TV today, and most of the movies, they're just gone.
Yep.
It's either a shoot 'em up, but there isn't the patriarch running the family in a fatherly
The
way.
Atticus Finch, like the real
Yeah.
strong
Oh my
male leader.
gosh.
Yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird, what a great man. And they need that. And they need to, I mean, I'm the guy, you get me talking about my mom for 2 minutes, I'm
Yeah.
crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
My dad was hard as an old iron nail. Um, so she was the matriarch for sure,
Right.
but she taught me how to be a good man.
Hmm.
And she taught me what it meant to be a leader, and there was no gray area.
Well, but you got a lot from your dad as well. I
Oh,
mean,
I
you
did.
learned a lot
Sometimes it's the things you
what not
don't
to
do,
do.
right?
Yeah.
And that's okay too. So I think again, going back to sports or school or something, these kids have to have a resource or a place where somebody's going to get invested and make a difference in their lives. So
Yeah, and that's us. I mean, in a lot of ways, we're surrogate that. We're at least offering an alternative, you know.
yeah,
So when they do hit 2022 and they're out on their own after college or whatever they're doing,
right.
like, you know, I really liked how I felt in that environment. So I'm going to seek that environment in other places. I'm going to seek places that make me feel like I felt in football or with my, with
Yeah.
my brothers there.
Well, and I think that's the draw to social media is you're going to get all this response, right? And if you're desperate to be loved or desperate to be needed or desperate, and I don't mean desperate in a bad way, you feel the need,
Hmm.
right? It can pull you in so easily, but it's kind of a facade
It's drugs, man.
because yeah, right. When
It's soulless.
you're not, that phone's not going to sit you down and tell you you messed up. That phone's not going to sit you down and say, hey, you just cheated on your girlfriend, you know,
Hmm.
or whatever, right? And so that's where somebody in your life has to be that person for you, or you have to be that person for them. And I just think that's where, the more we get down the social media road, we lose meaningful, positive relationships that make a difference. And that's where I worry for the kids today that I coach. I've seen them change over the 26 years, and they're still great kids. And the topic was redemption, right?
Hmm.
So in my little corner of the world, we never throw away a kid for making a mistake.
No, I love it when kids
Yeah,
make
yeah,
mistakes, man.
but we don't, gets beat deep for a touchdown. We don't pull them. We don't cuss them out. We don't embarrass them. And I've had coaches that do that. And I said, okay, well, the next time I'm going to cuss you out. What? Why? That's a personal attack. I said, you just did it to a 15-year-old. You teach them all week, right?
Yep.
That's on you.
Yep.
That's your product.
Yep.
You coach them better, but don't embarrass them in front of God and everybody that loves him because he gave up a touchdown. It's going to happen. I watched in the NFL.
Yeah.
I watched Brady throw a pick six. They didn't pull him.
I can't wait until the kid gets the same situation again so he can prove to himself that he's not going to do it wrong
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
And then everything, not now he'll never, ever screw it up, ever, ever again.
Well, and even if he does, you just might have a bad matchup, right?
Mhm.
But you loved him anyway,
Yeah.
right? Hey, your son took second in a 100-yard dash,
Still my
right?
son.
And you love him anyway, right?
Mhm.
No, quitter.
Yeah. Still
Didn't
love my
want
son.
it. Didn't want it. Should have been. I should have married a better athlete. Go back to that.
Man, I didn't never thought of that, but man, I'll find an excuse to use that one day. Should have married a better athlete.
Sorry, I trademarked it already.
Yeah, I bet you
Just
did.
like Graham Blank created. Should have trademarked that one.
Grand
That's a
Blank.
high created. Graham
Grand
Blank
Blank created.
created. Yeah.
Hashtag Grand Blank created.
Yeah. Yeah. Should have made some money on that one.
Yeah. Is that
Um,
really out there? Do we have that going?
oh, it's out there. It's selling, baby. Only one's not getting any money is the guy that said it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's definitely a unique thing that we have here is that we're doing it with just our kids, hey. Occasionally we get the Flint transfer and that, but I mean, it sounds terrible, but who wouldn't want to come here from there? It's a great
Yeah, the
place to
kids
be
that are
for
coming here from there, they're looking for because if you really look at all the kids that come from north of us, because there's a lot of schools up there that tend to end up here, they're just looking for better opportunity.
Yeah,
Great for them. It's not because we went to their practices and
yeah.
recruited them or whatever. And I think that there's too much of that in high school, and it's not just football; it's a lot of sports. But again, you're putting kids in situations where you're saying, leave all your friends, leave all the people that care about you, because I'm going to promise you this golden ticket. It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Hmm.
Factory. But it always doesn't work out that way. But when they go down that road, it's really hard to come back from it.
Well, I mean, now your friends all know that you turn their back on them, right?
Right.
I mean, I would have never considered it, in high school, leaving all my friends. It's the most important thing, being around my friends. I didn't.
Well, and again, I'm sorry, I'm a guy that's worked 12 years of boarding school and going back to one. There's a good argument for some time the kid needs to get away. Maybe it's the academics, at both the schools I worked at were all boy, and I love it because boys learn different than girls.
Oh, no doubt.
And I love my girls in my classroom. No one works harder. No one works harder in the weight room. But to teach boys, it's a lot easier to teach a room full of boys because you can teach them different. Boys like to build it, break it, argue about it,
Mhm.
fight about it, debate about it. And my girls tend to like to write about it, be more
Think about it,
expressive.
feel it.
Yeah, and do art. And it's amazing. I had a couple girls do some stuff in my World War One class last year. Um, they drew pictures that were just unbelievable, right? And so that's the way they express it. So I just think it helps boys sometimes to be in all boy classes because it takes away all the other distractions, but also their learning style's just different, you know.
So you can teach directly to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they definitely learn differently. I mean, I would, research says it very clearly that boys learn how to be men socially. They have to see, like you said, they have to see role models. They've got to see it being done, regardless of what's being said to them, regardless of what's happening around them. They've got to see older men doing things right for them to know what is expected of them as men. Whereas girls become women biologically, hormonally.
Yeah.
They're going to know just naturally how to want to hold a baby and do these sorts of things from the parenting perspective. But
Yeah.
to be a good dad, you've got to see a good dad.
Well,
Be a good man, you got to see a good man.
and we've changed the expectations of men so much. It's hard for kids today to know what it's supposed to be.
It's true.
We really have. I mean, when I grew up, my
Nowhere
mom,
near as specific as it was.
she had this quote, do when in doubt, do what John Wayne would do. He never lies, he never cheats, and he never runs away from a hard task. All right, pretty simple.
Good enough.
But it works,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Don't
true.
lie, don't cheat, and don't shirk a task. Don't turn your back on a challenge, right?
Hmm.
But today, it's just there's so many other options or I don't know, evaluations, definitions that the kids have to somehow to be a man, you gotta be all these different things. Well, just be the best parts you can be.
It's
It's
crazy.
okay.
Crazy you said that. The last interview I did was with a guy named Rudy, and not our Rudy, different Rudy. And he specifically said at one point in his life, he shifted his perspective to saying, well, what would Superman do?
Right.
And he started changing his life as a result of that and completely changed the path
Yeah.
that he went down by specifically focusing consciously on, I have a role model. That's who I want to be like. I'm going to do stuff just like
Yeah.
that.
And when you do that, like I remember the day John Wayne died, I was getting ready to go to school. My mom's like, you better go upstairs, get some rest. I didn't go to school that day, right? Go to school the next day. Where were we? I'm like, John Wayne died. I don't know why they shut down school.
Yeah.
It should have been national holiday. I mean, I was just crushed. 70s, late 70s. They had him on the Academy Awards and he was fighting with cancer. He looked like you could pick him up with one hand, which is heartbreaking. But, and again, I mean, now he's a bad guy, I guess. Stuff he said, guy born in 1905, and he said stuff in the 70s that shocks people now.
Marion.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a Shakespeare professor. It drove me nuts that all she wanted to do is talk about the feminist perspective of Shakespeare. I'm like, this is 400 years ago. This is the most low-hanging fruit there is. The world was completely different back then. What?
And he's a guy.
Exactly. How about we talk about the language or this thing that's beautiful
Right.
with this, something that's challenging, or at least, you're just like beating him up for something. He's not even around to defend himself. Like,
Right.
knock that shit off,
Yeah. Well, I don't want to go down that road with you because we'll never leave. But
Yeah.
because I'm the history guy watching history get reevaluated. And
As a side note, that's what the Nazis did. They deleted history and changed it to what they wanted it to be.
yeah,
Crazy how that's happening again.
what's scary and again the mistake we make and Dan Carlin, I'm not taking any credit for this. Dan Carlin, who does hardcore history, gave me the best analogy that I could help my students with when he said, listen, when we look back on history and try to put our values on history and then evaluate their decisions, he
Based on
said,
what we do now.
yeah, he said, you're forgetting the most important thing, and it was real, and it's the fear. And he talked about this settler being in the Ohio River Valley. He's got a wife and kids, and he's locking up the cabin at night because he's afraid of the Native Americans on the other side of the river because he is afraid of them.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the river, they're afraid of him.
Yep.
And they're making decisions based on their fear of him, and the fear is real. When you take that away and you look back and go, I can't believe they did that. Well, there's
It's so racist.
yeah. Well, so the analogy is he said, go to a hotel room, get ready to turn off your light, and see the biggest, scary spider you've ever seen in the corner of your room. And tell me you just turn the light off, go to bed. He goes, some of you might try to kill it. Some of you might call the front desk. Some of you maybe do turn the light off. But it's going to make a difference in how you react. And he said, that's what we have to remind ourselves when we look back at history or anything in the past is what did they think and how were they feeling? And, like we can never replace or replicate. We kind of did with 9/11, but like Pearl Harbor. We were an isolationist nation. The next day it's on. You attacked us, sneak attack. It's on.
Yep.
Right. And the same with 9/11 somewhat. That country came together, and I do not want a 9/11 event to bring our country back together, but I'd love to see our country come back together. I miss the days when you could talk politics with somebody and agree to disagree. Now you can't.
But you were all standing in front of the same flag, eh?
Yeah. And you actually, I learned when I did that. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. Well, how do you ever teach someone when you can't have a conversation with them? How do you ever share an opinion or share a thought or share a goal if I just, nope, I can't listen to you because you're from the other side or whatever. And the only people that lose is our country when we do that.
That's very true. It's exactly as appropriate as me looking back at stuff that I did that was stupid when I was 20,
Yeah.
and just absolutely beating myself up about it. Oh, and giving myself sanctions today as a result,
Yeah.
punishing myself now for shit I did back then. Let's
Yeah.
look at the human race, or at least Americans, as the lifetime of a person, right? All you're gonna do is get better as things go by. Oh, you know what? We screwed that up. Slavery. That was stupid. That shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
We won't do it again, and we haven't.
No.
We screwed this up for Vietnam. Well, let's try not to do that again. So you make your mistakes and you get better as you go. And
Yeah.
going back and beating yourself up about it, it's a waste of time. After you learn what you're going to learn, you move forward. We got to do that as a country too. We
Yeah.
got to be able to look back and
Well,
say, you know what, we fucked that up, but we're better now.
And as bad as Vietnam was, and some horrible decisions were made, again, it's a great example of, but the fear of the domino theory and all those things were real.
Yeah, we were
And
doing
they
it.
forced us into some
Exactly
terrible decisions
Yep.
that we look back on now and go, probably didn't need to do that.
Right. Well, we know from the future that we have now, and for all we know, what we did in Vietnam made this future that we have. If had we not done that, that domino thing might have happened. You just never know.
It's the multiverse, baby. It's all about the multiverse. I kind of miss Thanos. There's so much multiverse going on in Marvel. I'm like, where's Thanos at? Bring him back.
Yeah.
I like to have one reality, not 860,000 realities that
You're,
they can go.
you're out of my wheelhouse with the
I know,
comic
it's
books,
just,
man.
yeah. But it's just this whole time travel change things. Oh,
Okay.
this Spider-Man's got this because he's from this universe or whatever. And so you can't do that with history. You can learn from it.
Yeah,
You,
that's
you,
what we
you
did
never
with
have
that.
to like it.
And as soon as you delete it, you can't learn from it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we close on this. I mean, I always tell people Napoleon's my favorite coach, right? And they go nuts. Oh, he was this, he was that. And it's all the people that never took the time to realize that Napoleon was the first monarch in Europe to give Jews the full rights of citizenship.
Really?
Yeah, they want to compare him to Hitler. He's nothing like Hitler. Now, he suffered the same problem all countries did.
He was an autocrat.
He probably smarter than most people around him, had a little Caesar in him, right? But the other thing was he didn't want the whole world, just wanted the piece next to his. And the piece next to you gets you into Russia, and that's a
right.
problem.
Yeah.
Or it gets you into Spain, and that's a problem. But what conqueror hasn't had that problem? Even Rome. Rome would take over new territory to say, okay, this is a new border. We've stopped these Germanic tribes from raiding our territories. But now you're on the border of even tougher people that were pushing the Germans towards you. Now you got a new enemy, and it never ends, right? So, but no, you look at his qualities: great leader, great man manager, great motivator, intellectual. Change the rules of war, blah blah blah. But when I look at him from a coaching perspective, he could make a 7 and 10 through motivation, through management. When they say when you show up on the battlefield, you're worth 40,000 guys in that time period.
That's a big
That's
thing.
powerful, right? And
Yeah.
that he was. So, but again, I know his flaws, and I recognize his flaws. I know my dad's flaws. Love
You
him
probably
too.
did too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we all got them. I mean, we killed the only perfect person I know about. Nothing about that.
Yeah.
There was one, killed him off.
Yeah.
So, that's who we really are. And we tend to hate other people's success in the big picture as a group. I mean, look how we love to build up stars and burn them down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sad.
Yeah, it happens over and over again.
Yeah. Or don't get too successful. We were talking about Musk at lunch, right? Everybody loved him. And then he's putting satellites over Ukraine. Then they really love him. Goes to buy Twitter. The country hates him. What
He's
do
gonna
you
stop
do?
our censorship. What now?
Oh, sorry. All right. Yeah.
No, he's going to stop our censorship.
Yeah. Yeah. And then suddenly now it's just nuts.
He got
And
it done though, right? He's got Twitter now.
I don't think he's got it yet. He's saying they've got too many bots.
The way I heard it was this: he bought a massive share of stock, and then he said to Twitter, "I want to buy the rest of it, and if you don't sell it to me, I'll sell the stock I have." Which, if he did that all at once, it would tank their value.
And he,
right?
well, he
for
is smart.
for leverage takeover.
But again, it just
It's great shit. Good for him.
you mentioned, I think, at lunch about Walter Cronkite, right?
Yeah.
And I talk to my students about this all the time. When I grew up, we had Walter Cronkite. He told you the news. He never leaned to his right
It
or
was
left.
absolutely objective.
He didn't ask for Dan and Sally's opinion. He just told you news and you figured it out. And now you don't truly get news. I always tell my students, you got to watch all three, four networks.
And amalgamate them together.
Yeah, and whatever they agree on is probably true. Everything else, at least you know the talking points for the other side. But it's sad that they don't truly have a source,
Yeah.
and yet most of the young kids want to rely on their phone, which anybody can say anything without sources.
Hmm.
So it's just a scary world for them. But
It's the
but again, redemption, right?
And we've redeemed ourselves here in Grand Blanc, man. I still looking back, I still look back, and I can't. If I were faced with the same decision you had, I'd have gone Brother Ice.
Yeah. Well, I think that lady on the bus that can't prove it always felt like she was an angel. For 3 years, I thought she was the devil.
Hmm.
But then we had these last 2 years. But it
Yeah.
came out of nowhere, so I had to go home and make a decision. I've got 3 pages of plus minus. Brother Rice, Grand Blanc. Brother Rice had a much better financial offer. Winning a school in the state. I'm just going to be the football guy, help with a little recruiting. Grand Blanc had 5 jobs, less money, a lot more work to do. But I was torn. I loved Clarence's vision for the school. I loved meeting Jared. I was really excited about the opportunities, but I knew it was some tough sledding. And this lady pops on this bus out of nowhere. It's just me sitting on this bus at Avis, getting ready to go up to the airport. Sits right in front of me and goes, "Baby, you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." She said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "Oh, I've been interviewing." Didn't go well. I said, "No, went really well. Went too well." I said, "I got 2 jobs. I love them to death." I said, "But they are yin and yang." She shot across that bus, put her finger right in my nose, and goes, "Who needs you the most?" Started crying, gave her a hug, and said, "Oh my God, it's my mom out of heaven." Shows the Grand Blanc Pride. And I think we
Well,
we, we
we
accomplished
earned it,
that
man.
mission.
We did.
Well, we got a bunch of kids at college that might not have,
Yeah.
right? Best season in 102 years. But I truly believe that I was supposed to run into her. I've always had pretty simple prayers. I kid around and say, I keep just enough sin in my heart so God doesn't give up on me. Um, but my prayers always, thank you for everything you've given me. Bless my family. Go through all my family. Use me as you will. Place me where you want me. And I've always been comfortable with that. Tried to be a tool for the Lord as much as I can. And Lord knows I'm not the world's best Christian, but I'm trying. But I try to do the right things. But I've always
You
kind of
do a
been
lot of
open
good, man.
for.
You do more good than most people.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just, in my little way, like I said, you can't save the whole world. Save the piece you can.
That's right. And we did. This was our Grand Blanc. We saved it, man, didn't we?
Yeah.
We guys were talking about on Friday night what we accomplished, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Juice was here, and everybody was just like,
Well, you look at
"Holy
the
cow!"
last 2 years, you're 19-3. You lost to 2 teams because we lost to Davidson twice 2 years ago. Beat what 6 undefeated teams and 7 teams I had never beat before. And
Stay
so
qualified.
just yeah, I mean it was just great. And all the number ones other than Celine were always on the road.
Hmm.
But just kind of humbly kept kind of chipping away and that's Joe DeGane in the weight room and then Ian and all these different parts and all the coaches. And the one thing when we talked about the job, when getting replaced, and I just told Jared, I said, listen, you need to understand it wasn't me. I said, it's a great staff. We did it together. And so if you don't pick one of my staff guys, they're going to feel like, oh, you guys just think it was me and it wasn't me. It was us. It was an us accomplishment.
I don't think anybody doubts that. That not only that, and we all know that it was us too,
Right.
but we don't think that you think it
Yeah.
wasn't us.
Good. No, I appreciate it because it wasn't. I mean, you can't coach 3 levels and all those kids, and
No, you
we
can't.
had about 180.
Too many kids.
And again,
Coaches.
and we didn't have a lot of problems. We
Not
we
really.
had some disappointments every now and then. You lose a game and you never feel good about it. In the last game, like I talked at the girls' lacrosse banquet, I said, when I lost at Adams, I felt like I lost this game and I let down our whole community. I never feel like, oh, the kid's this or whatever. I
Don't
mean,
you feel like that every game? Because every game
I
I've ever
lose,
lost, I feel like that was
yeah,
completely my fault.
and that I've let down the whole town.
Yep.
I've got one job, make our town successful.
Yep.
And it hangs on you. The problem with that game is there's not a next week. I've had other games where I've lost. I told you the story about Woodbury, but we win the next week and you get over it. This one I'm still carrying until my next game, right? And leaving the town on 12-1, but it was the one that's the last one, right? And but then you get farther away from it and you start to see all the success and kids going to college and those things. But to me that I coach for a lot more than just wanting to win. And I think the more that I focus on everything but winning, the more success I've ever had. And I think if you apply that to the workplace, don't worry about the things you can't control. Be the best you can be and watch the magic happen around you. Suddenly everybody wants to come to your desk, say hello, or they want to pop by and just what's going on because you're bringing juice and you're bringing energy and that's contagious.
Well, everybody's got it in them, at least at some level. If you can bring out the best in people, You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
present that environment and it draws them in.
Well, and take the time to compliment some people.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
who doesn't love a compliment? As long as it's sincere,
Mhm.
what's it cost you?
Yeah, nothing.
Hey man, you look great
Just a
today,
little bit
man.
of
Good
time.
job today. I mean, I'm so excited about that, man. You're so sweet. I mean, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still the fool that holds doors, and most of the time they go in, but every now and then they don't, right? But I don't hold the door. I'm too old to like try to come on to a woman by holding the door. It's just how I was raised,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of my way of going, you know what? You're worth the extra 3 seconds. You know, you don't have to do this. I got it.
Yeah, and you might have just made their day.
You know?
And
You know?
that was the moment to redeem them,
Yeah.
bring them back to the positive person that they can. Dude, that was awesome recording.